Scales will never be enough. You know why? Let's try an analogy. Scales are like the alphabet. Songs are like paragraphs, sentences, a conversation. So let's say a song is a conversation, or a short conversation, which is a couple of paragraphs or a couple of pages. That's a song, but when you're practicing, you're learning A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now you learn that, scales and arpeggios, alphabet, scales, arpeggios, that kind of stuff, exercises like that. And then you try to sing a song, which is, hey, how you going? I miss you. I want to be together again. I love you. These are my feelings, etc., etc., etc. What has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K got to do with, hey, I love you, I miss you, can we get back together again? Hey, H-E-Y. H-E-Y. It's in the alphabet, right? It's in the scale. But how does practicing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, blah, 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 ever get you to hey, the word hey, or I miss you, or I love you? It never gets you to those words. It never gets you to those combinations. H-E-Y. A, B, C, D, H-E-Y. And you have to make them out of that scale, out of that arpeggio. But scales and arpeggios are usually limited to a certain, it's usually like ascending, descending, arpeggio, skip a note, and occasionally there's other patterns, but it's usually up and down, right? So words, conversation, you never get to them when you do scales. That's why scales will never be enough. It cannot be enough. That is a pretty good analogy. It's pretty on the point. Okay, what's another example? When people learn language, okay, I'm trying to get it closer to music because language is close to music the way we learn language, okay? When we learn language, we learn words and we learn the sort of pitch and timing of the way we speak when we're speaking certain ways. So if you're, like for example, when people do auctions and they go, 25, whatever, and they have their way to speak, and then when we speak to each other, we have a different tone depending on what the kind of conversation it is, right? So you ever hear when people have come from a foreign country like India or Asia or any other foreign country and they try to speak some type of English, like American English, Australian English, or UK, London English, and the way they speak tends to sound like their original language. It doesn't sound like those three English sort of countries. It sounds like it sounds like Indian or Asian or South American. It's like they're speaking that language, but the words are in English. So sometimes you're like, oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? You can't understand what they're saying. Because what they've done is learn the letters and learn some of the words, how you say some of the words, and they haven't gone further to learn the rest, like how you say sentences and the entire details of when you combine many words together and the sentences. And so they've learned letters, but they don't learn the words in enough detail. See, so learning letters, the alphabets of a language, or even just the basic words, it's not enough. You need to learn exactly how to say specific sentences and how to form paragraphs when you're speaking. There's a lot of detail you need to study, and the only way you can do it is speaking to someone who speaks like that already and imitating. Now, a lot of people can't imitate naturally because naturally they don't have a good enough ear to copy all these details. So they need someone like a coach to break it down for them, to say, oh, you flip those words around. Those words aren't in the correct position when you say a sentence like that. And then they make them say it again correctly. So they point out the mistake and they make them say it again correctly several times so that it goes solid. And they repeat this process with many other examples of where they're wrong. All right? This is how you correct singing as well. Someone is singing a song, you take the part of the song that's wrong, you tell them you're singing this part wrong. Here's how to sing it correctly. Try. They try. and you keep adjusting them until they get it right, and then you make them repeat that many times, that them getting it right, until it's like a, you know, a workout for their brain, and they've kind of made it a bit more, starts to go into their memory. And then you repeat that process with other parts of the song that are bad, and eventually you do this for 100 hours, and you teach them how to do it themselves when they're at home alone practicing. And then when they practice, after 100 hours or a year, they'll be significantly different. The singing will be significantly different. But if you just practice with them A, B, C, D, F, G, scales, there's no telling if they're ever going to get the songs that they're trying to learn. There's no guarantee, because the song is like the conversation. How are they ever going to understand how this lyric and this lyric combined together, how the timing of all these sections of the song, the exact timing of it, the specific intervals. Intervals are like when you go from one word to the next word, or you jump from one note to the next note, even within one word. Like, I love, it's one word, but it's got two notes, love, so that's called an interval, the love. So how they're supposed to know the exact intervals that you're trying to train. Now, I do like interval training. You can train interval training, so you can do scales, you can do interval training. Interval training is like, like that kind of thing. That's really good as well. That is a good type of training, but again, it's still not enough. You still need to train the intervals for the specific song on the words that are in the song. Okay? You don't need to do the intervals first. You can just do the intervals within the song. So if the song has, I love you, you can just go, and then add the word love, or you can just go straight to the word la. Get that right, la, and then go la. You never need to practice the scale. You just need to get those two notes right, and then the rest of the 100 notes that are in the song, or whatever, how many notes are in the song, and then all of the combinations that are in the song, transitions between different parts. So this is why scales will never be enough. They are like the long roundabout way, which might never get to the destination that you want to get to. But when you practice songs, you get to the destination every minute that you practice. You get closer to the destination. Okay? Think about it. Change your thinking. People have been teaching with scales for a long time, but it doesn't mean it's right. Okay? It doesn't mean it's right. People believe in religion for a long time. How many religions are there? Which one is right? None of them. No religions are right. There's no one God. There isn't. It doesn't exist. People have been eating animals since the beginning of time. It doesn't mean it's right to kill an animal and eat it. In Asia, they eat dogs. And in Western countries, they have dogs as pets, and they couldn't drink, and it's against the law to hurt dogs. So how's that? You know, are the Asians right, or are the Westerners right? You know, obviously the Westerners are right, because it's immoral. It feels wrong to kill the dog, right? What other things have we been doing? We've been killing since the beginning of time. Is killing right? I don't know. Maybe some instances it might be right. When someone's done horrible acts, I don't know. Maybe we can do psychological or behavioral science and people can change. We just haven't worked out how to change people yet. So it's complicated. Just because we've been doing it for a long time doesn't mean it's right. I went for a job interview once and someone told me, oh yeah, we've been teaching this way, you know, it works. And I said to her, oh yeah, I teach like all this kind of like runs and R&B, vibrato and stuff like that. I go, and then I did something, she goes, oh, I can't do that stuff. I'm like, well, you say your way is like really good and it works. You obviously have no idea of other methods. You just say it works because you think it works, but you don't know the other methods, so how can you even compare? How do you know what else is out there? Unless you ask. So you got to ask questions and learn more, then you can decide. Learn and try. When I became vegan, for example, I learnt a lot before I tried it. Oh, I'm Lebanese, man. I grew up Lebanese. I came to Australia when I was 5 years old. My parents still eat chicken and shit. every day, like beef and stuff like that. I grew up on that. I grew up on kebabs. I grew up on home cooked Lebanese dishes, and now I'm vegan. It didn't just happen. Something, I don't know what made me want to ask questions and think about it, but something in me made me go, I want to ask, I want to learn. So I learned how to do bodybuilding, like normal kind of bodybuilding with meat and animal products. And then later I learned about vegetarian and vegan and that kind of stuff much later. But I spent years learning before I actually changed, because it takes you a lot of time to absorb new knowledge. But what I'm saying is, you got to ask, you got to learn. Don't get stuck in just one way. Oh, you know, like I'm atheist now, but I grew up as sort of a Muslim. Like one side of my family wasn't really religious, and the other side was a little bit religious in Muslim. And then something made me ask questions. Something made me go, oh, but what about those religions? Like, how are they different to our one? And when I started learning, ask the questions, it leads you to learning, and you're more likely to find the truth, the reality of the situation, that scales are not enough. They are one way to maybe get to your destination, but song broken down training is a guaranteed way to get to your destination, get closer to your destination every time you practice. There's no guesswork. There's no guesswork. Okay? So if you don't have an open mind to even ask me about what I'm talking about, and you just want to say that it's one way, like in your mind, whether you're a student or a teacher, and you just think it's one way, how can you know? If you don't ask, if you don't research, how can you really know? Okay? I had one teacher, she was amazing. She actually did a lesson with me, and she wanted to know about how I do how my system, how my method is, sort of thing. The way I train and the way I train other people. And it was amazing. She calls me up, she goes on Skype, and she goes, what's your story? And then I told her she's an amazing singer, and she had some things that she needed to work on. Like she didn't know how to train runs, for example. She goes, how do you train runs? And I showed her how to train it, and she was mind blown. She's like, wow. You know, she could easily said, oh, you know, I got my system. I've been doing my system for years. I know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. She didn't. She goes, she took what she could from me, which is amazing. That's great. That's what we've got to do. We've got to help each other. The guy that invented the light, he made light for everyone. You know, how amazing is that? He could have hit it for himself, or people go, no, or what are we going to do with that? We've already got oil lights, oil lamps, or whatever. We've got fire. Man, open your fucking mind, all right? Let go. Don't let go of shit. Open your mind and start learning, and then that'll bring you to conclusions. Okay? Start learning and do trial and error as well. Open your mind, okay? Scales are not enough. Trust me. I do not train scales.
Your attention, please.